Live from KSAT 12. Good Morning San Antonio starts right now.
Hello and good morning. It is Tuesday, September 27th. We begin with the San Antonio Spurs planning a special trip to Uvalde.
Coach Pop and the Spurs know they cannot erase the pain that the residents of Uvalde have felt since May 24th. They can, however, continue reminding the city of 16,000 people that they're not forgotten. The Spurs are planning what they're calling a community impact event in Uvalde October 8th. Details are still being finalized, but it seems likely the entire team and Greg Popovich will be making the 85-mile trip from San Antonio. Now, Coach Pop spoke at an event in Uvalde back in June, and the Spurs are one of the many teams who have pledged support for the community. The NBA previously announced the formation of the Sport for Healing Fund, created to provide long-term support for the Uvalde community by creating and investing in trauma and healing-centered care for youth and families. The NBA, along with the Spurs, Dallas Mavericks, Houston Rockets, and the NHL's Dallas Stars, made the initial contributions to the fund, which will look to connect with children through sports and building safe places like community outdoor play areas. Look for more on this story on our website at KSAT.com. That's right, and I'm sure they appreciate that. Sure enough. And then time now, 8:59, 69 degrees out there. What a pleasant start to our day, Sarah.
Oh my goodness, our first crisp taste of fall early this morning around San Antonio, and it is quickly warming up, all right? We're going to be near 91 degrees this afternoon, but good news, those crisp, cool mornings will continue for most of this week. Let's take a quick check of the aquifer. This is not so good news. The aquifer is actually down nearly a foot over just the last 24 hours. And when we look at the pollen count, there's actually a couple of things to sneeze at. Molds are high, close to 2,000. Ragweed is also up. It's moderate today. Pigweed and grass are low. But yes, it feels great outside this morning. Take a look at temperatures out there across the city of San Antonio. It's 70 degrees at the airport, 74 at Stinson, 73 at Kelly, and 69 near Converse at GMSA Randolph. Winds are from the northeast, and we're going to have a pretty pleasant day today. Still warm this afternoon when you pick up the kids, 91 degrees, but that'll be a low humidity, dry heat this afternoon, and east-northeast winds at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Smooth sailing in the weather department, but what about in traffic? Your traffic authority, Stephen Cavazos, has the latest on the roads.
Hey, thanks so much, Sheriff Spivey, and I have those sunglasses handy in my car, so can't wait to use those. But right now, if you are getting ready to hit the roads, let's get a quick look at TransGuide. There you'll see traffic is moving along just fine. From a lot of these shots, a lot of that morning commute has already dwindled down, and folks have probably already arrived to their destination. But still be on the lookout. There are some problems that we are detecting, and really the main thing of it is going to be those slowdowns. We take you to the map, though. First, here off 35 southbound, we did have a crash that was picked up near FM 482. Southbound lanes of 35, it's one of those areas that corridor is traveled by so many people every single day, so anytime an incident does pop up, it could obviously cause a pretty big slowdown. Again, southbound lanes at 35, FM 482, we are seeing a buildup taking place. I'll watch it closely and have updates throughout the morning, but while we're at it, let's get a wide look at the map here at 9:01. As I mentioned, the commute has dwindled down, but we still are seeing some slowdowns in the usual hotspots. US 90 traveling east, of course, as well as 35 coming up from Von Ormy probably, but really nothing else is really causing any of that slowdown. This could just be lingering traffic, but as I mentioned, I'll be watching the roads closely, and as always, make sure that you do the same. Mark, Steph.
Thank you, Stephen. Big flames overnight after a fire erupted on the city's south side. This happened just before 2 a.m. on Mission Road near East South Cross. Now, according to the battalion chief at the scene, a man who lives on the property heard a loud pop outside and noticed the flames. A small shed was severely damaged in that fire. Right now, firefighters believe this was electrical in nature, but they are still investigating. CPS Energy crews say they found electrical wires all over the place, but it's possible the wiring was not done correctly. And San Antonio firefighters responding to another call early this morning. This happened around 4:30 a.m. in an alleyway near West Mistletoe and Howard Street. Officials say the fire burned through a couple of unattached buildings, one garage and one shed. That fire knocked down quickly and no one was injured. The cause is still under investigation. Well, let's get you caught up on the rest of the day's headlines. Let's look at today's 9 at 9. Ian could become the Tampa Bay area's worst hurricane in a century. The storm is days away from hitting Florida, and the National Hurricane Center is now forecasting conditions in some parts of the state could begin worsening as soon as today. The rapidly intensifying hurricane hit Cuba earlier this morning as a major hurricane after battering the Cayman Islands.
Protests in Russia continue to grow and become more violent and deadly. Today is the final day of the staged referendum in occupied regions of Ukraine. Russia is looking to formally annex several regions throughout Ukraine. Their fears once Russia does that, possibly by the end of the week, Russian President Vladimir Putin could use this as an excuse to escalate attacks.
New revelations about 3 top Trump allies are offering a deeper look inside the Trump White House. The Justice Department is asking a judge to make former Trump trade advisor Pete Navarro turn over government documents. They are allegedly from an unofficial email account and include messages involving Trump's then White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows.
GOP operative Roger Stone says newly released video of him has been manipulated. Documentarians who followed him say the video is from the day before the 2020 presidential election. The January 6th House Select Committee has asked them for the video. The committee will hold its next hearing tomorrow at noon, our time.
A rare and controversial state funeral for assassinated former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe taking place in Japan. The event for one of the country's most divisive leaders has deeply split public opinion. Abe was cremated in July after a private funeral, days after he was assassinated while giving a campaign speech.
Bear market territory for the Dow. It posted a 1.1% drop yesterday, which puts the Dow down 20% from its recent high. The S&P closed down 1%, and the Nasdaq ended the day down 0.6%.
The White House wants to make flight tickets more transparent under the proposed rules. Airlines and travel sites would have to disclose upfront any fees charged to sit with your child, to change or cancel your flight, and for checked or carry-on baggage.
The Congressional Budget Office is warning that student loan forgiveness could cost the government around $400 billion over the course of 30 years. President Biden's plan forgives thousands of dollars in federal student loans for people who earn less than $125,000 a year. The White House is expected to release its own estimate of the student loan plan in the coming weeks.
Rent may still be too high for a lot of people, but it's getting a little more affordable. Property data company CoStar Group says the national average for asking rents fell 0.1% in August compared to July. That's the first monthly drop since the end of 2020. That's today's 9 at 9.
In the other morning headlines, a dart with a direct hit on an asteroid, and some students may not be able to have cell phones at school anymore.
Plus, police taking part in a wedding proposal, and it's one of the best ever, and taking Halloween decorating to a new level. Our David Sears is here with all of these stories.
Some decorations just hanging around in the front yard, and we do mean literally, or the opposite, levitating in the front yard. How about
okay,
that?
Better.
We'll show it to you in just a second. First, you are looking at an asteroid from a camera on the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or better known as DART. The camera shows DART slam into the asteroid Dimorphos. The idea was to see if DART could change the orbit of the asteroid. And you can see all the scientists from NASA, they're pretty excited about what just happened. The asteroid wasn't going to impact Earth. They were just trying to see if they could change the orbit just in case the Earth became the potential threat of getting nailed by the big one in the future. So now NASA has to collect data from DART and see if the collision actually worked. High fives all around NASA. Parents with school-age kids who take cell phones to school, pay attention to this one. There is a proposal on the table in Michigan that would no longer allow students to bring cell phones to school. The phone ban could become law. There are mixed reviews of the proposal. One parent says a cell phone is a necessity, but a Michigan representative says teachers have told him the phones are a distraction and phones are used to bully fellow students.
I'm not for the bill.
So you're saying, like, once your kid gets to a certain age, you're not sending them to school without a cell phone?
Absolutely.
A story that was told to me by a mom is that her daughter she was 12, and she got braces put on her teeth. So she's eating lunch. She's having a hard time eating lunch because of the braces. So she's kind of making a mess. In the meantime, somebody's filming her and send it out to everybody in the school.
Yeah, Michigan is not the only state considering the ban. Pennsylvania also considering a ban. Nebraska is proposing students put their phones in a container when they come into class, and they can only use them if there is an emergency. All right, let's take you to a little town of Whitton, Massachusetts, south of Boston. Police arresting a guy in a restaurant. When they got him outside, they went back in and told his fiancée it was serious, and she had to come outside. And then Wayne Morris dropped to a knee and asked her to marry him. Lucky for him, she said yes. The police Kirsten's parents and that owner of the restaurant all in on it.
They walked in and they're like, "Are you Wayne Morris?" They had a printout of my picture and everything. And yeah. And then one thing led to another, and they're like, "You're under arrest."
He's like, "Oh, there's some serious charges against him, and he'd like to tell you himself." I'm like, "Oh my God." So I follow them out. And that's when they opened the door and he jumped out and got down on one knee. I really thought he was being arrested. It was the best proposal.
That's pretty good. Hey, the officers wished the couple well and put on Facebook that this was a one and done deal. They're not going to keep doing these arresting proposals. And finally this morning, that is Max. And Max is levitating.
Oh.
Apparently a character from the Netflix series Stranger Things. The idea to have a levitating Max in their front yard comes from Dave Appel and his wife Aubrey. They live in Illinois. They love to decorate for Halloween, and we do mean decorate. They go big every year, and this year they floated the idea and they made it a reality. Or is it? Is it real? It is getting a lot of attention, though, that's for sure.
It's not drones, it's not helium or balloons, and we just felt like it was more fun to keep it under wraps.
The mystery is what's getting the attention.
We just saw him on TikTok, so we decided to drive through the neighborhood and check out Max floating in the air.
Looks pretty good, though, doesn't it? Even
Yeah.
Netflix got wind of it and posted that they are their #1 fan.
Yeah, well, how the heck are they doing? I mean, no obvious wires.
Well, if you look real.
Oh, there are some? Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
He's levitating. Come on, Mark.
Yeah, but
That's what I meant.
it's very cool. The same wardrobe from the series
Yeah.
and everything. It looks very real, like a little flashback to the series.
And look at the decorations on their house. I mean, the guy gets up on the roof and he's nailing stuff up there on the top up there on the eaves and everything. Man, they go all out. So that's pretty cool, though. If you drive by, you're like, oh my.
Being that it's only 27th of September, they're going to get some mileage out of this.
Yeah,
They are,
that's
won't you?
true.
So there you go. Well, they got smiles out of the neighbors.
All right.
My decorations are up. I don't have floating.
You don't have Max out
Nope,
there
I don't
levitating?
have floating.
Quite that elaborate yet.
Not yet.
Thank you, David.
You can work on it.
All right. See you in a bit. 9:10, 71 degrees.
And Tiffany Huertas joins us now with a look at what she has coming up.
Good morning. A local nonprofit is making sure people in the food and beverage industry have affordable access to mental health services and support groups. Details on this program and how it's impacting our community coming up.
Just about 9:14. Welcome back. A local nonprofit dedicated to mental health and wellness of people working in the food and beverage industry has been helping hundreds of people in Texas and San Antonio.
The organization St. City Culinary Foundation launched in 2017 through their wellness program called HERD. It connects people to affordable therapists and offers free support groups.
Tiffany Huertas joins us now. Tiffany, what kind of impact has this program been having on our community?
A big impact not only here in San Antonio, but all over Texas. The founder of the nonprofit, Joel Rivas, says that more than 400 people are using their services, and he hopes to expand. Joining us now is Joel. Good morning. Talk to us about the importance behind these programs that you have.
Sure. A big, especially during the pandemic, the service industry, the food and beverage industry was hit really hard. But even before that, I've worked in the food and beverage industry for years, and knowing that there was a lack of resources, especially in the realm of mental health and wellness for those that worked in the industry, was really important. So, the makeup of most people that work in the industry we're givers, and a lot of times we don't fill our cup back up and take care of ourselves. So I wanted to do something that was impactful in that area. And to help take care of those that work in the industry and give them some resources that were attainable and accessible and practical so they could address mental health issues and wellness issues.
Talk to us about the different programs.
So we have our program HERD concentrates on mental health and wellness. We have a national online Zoom support group, which people can come to on a weekly basis. It's every Monday at 7 p.m. And that gives people an opportunity to really be in a group of folks that are like them and talk about issues that they're having. We also have access to therapy that we work with. A partner, Capital Area Counseling in Austin, Texas, that we work with, and that can get people accessible therapy access at a low cost. as well. And then we have other wellness programs that we do as well, run clubs and free yoga and things like that. So
cool. And people in our community, what are they telling you that are participating in these services?
Really, that they're grateful that there are services that are accessible and that are practical and do more than just talk or put a poster on the wall telling people to take care of themselves, but actually giving them something that they can afford on their wages and actually access this care. So.
Well, congratulations for all the hard work that you've been doing for the past few years. We're going to have all those details. And he was just recognized at a top magazine. We're going to have more of that coming up on the noon show. Back to you.
Well, congrats. We look forward to it. Thank you, Tiffany.
This is how nice it was this morning. We're actively talking about soups and chilies and things like that here in the studio.
Finally.
We are. And I've been able to use the autumn leaf graphic here in the background. Yeah. Take a look at these morning lows across the San Antonio metro area. We got down to 61 degrees in San Antonio, but look at that. It was 50 degrees up at Bernie Stage Airfield, 49 in Kerrville this morning. It was a cool 58 in New Braunfels, 57 in Seguin, and 58 in Hondo. By the way, our average low this time of year is 67, so we were cooler than average this morning, and our low of 61 is the coolest we have been since May 26th. That's 144 days. A welcome change for us early this morning. Now, it is currently warming up pretty quickly. We're already at 70 degrees, but the key number here to see is the dew point. Dew points are in the 40s. That is nice and dry and comfortable. We've got winds from the northwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. That's bringing in more dry air. And in fact, when we look at the 24-hour dew point change, dew points are down by some 15 to 20 degrees around San Antonio from this time yesterday. So a welcome change with the lower humidity. Of course, lower humidity also means that it warms up pretty easily. So we are still going to have a warm afternoon, but outside right now it's very pleasant around south central Texas. Barely a cloud in the sky, no clouds in the sky around San Antonio. It's 74 in New Braunfels, 67 in Uvalde, 65 in Del Rio, 71 in Gonzales, and 72 in Beeville. As we zoom in a little closer here to the metro area, 65 in Canyon Lake, still a cool 57 in Comfort, and it's 72 in Castroville. Here's your KSAT 12-hour forecast. Again, a quick warm up for us just in the next hour and a half. We're already going to be in the 80s. It'll be 80 degrees around 11, 82 for the lunch hour. Notice that winds do pick up too in the afternoon. We'll have east-northeast winds, 5 to 15 miles per hour. An occasional gust up to 20 is possible. And this afternoon, we're going to top off right near 91 degrees. As soon as the sun sets close to 7:30, it's going to become even more comfortable with temperatures dropping down into the 70s, and this low humidity is going to stick with us for the remainder of the week and into the weekend. Here's a look at the forecast highs in your neighborhood. 87 in Kerrville, 88 in Bernie, 88 in Bulverde. It'll be 91 in Poteet, 91 in Pleasanton, 91 in Floresville, 89 in Uvalde, and 92 in Gonzales. But the key is, if you're an early riser, and a lot of us on GMSA are early risers, we get to enjoy some very comfortable mornings over the next several days. Morning lows in San Antonio should be in the upper 50s, right near 60 degrees. And as we look at our weather setup across the nation, very quiet weather has settled over a good portion of the United States, with the exception of the Great Lakes, all because of this high pressure system bringing in some dry air from the north. And of course, all eyes are on Florida, where Hurricane Ian has currently re-entered into warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico as a Category 3 major hurricane. It's expected to strengthen even more. Currently, wind gusts of up to 125 miles per hour, 155 mile per hour wind gusts rather. And you can see that Ian will strengthen into a Category 4 hurricane, potentially making landfall near the Tampa area. Up to 9-foot storm surge near Tampa by Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and then it'll become a tropical storm and weekend over Florida, but still bringing major impacts to the state of Florida. Hurricane warnings in effect from Fort Myers all the way up to Tampa, and a tropical storm warning inland into Orlando near the cusp of Gainesville as well. As for our weather here in San Antonio, going to continue to be quiet, comfortable and cool fall-like mornings, warm afternoon temperatures near 90 degrees. something you do not see in that forecast is rain. That's the bad part of our forecast. And coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about how it's been a very dry and exceptionally dry year for San Antonio. Hope you'll stick around for that.
We will. Thank you, Sarah.
Right now, it's 9:21, 72 degrees.
And when we come back, we are celebrating our newest Educator of the Month. She's a 4th grade teacher at Huebner Elementary, and we're going to introduce you to her and her students after the break.
Educator of the Month, brought to you by First Mark Credit Union.
And school is in full swing, and we are back to recognizing our area educators. For the month of August, we are shining a spotlight on a 4th grade teacher at Huebner Elementary. She loves history and keeps her students engaged. We are talking about Tracy Sawyer Moreno, and she's being recognized as KSAT's Educator of the Month.
Yes? How many did you have? 600. Oh, I love it. It's just fun. We try to do a lot of movement and add a lot of fun to it so they'll want to come to school. Oh, you did bring it down. It just pulled the wrong one. Okay, let's see. That's a tough one.
Encouraging and engaging. Just a few of the reasons why Huebner Elementary's Tracy Sawyer Moreno is being honored as KSAT's Educator of the Month.
We are honored to present you with Educator of the Month for the month of August.
Thank you
Not
so much.
only
Guys,
that,
look at that. Isn't that cool? Every time he gets one right, it feeds people from around the world. It's just amazing because you come just for fun, and then these guys just add to it, and to be recognized on top of that, it's just the icing on top of the cake.
It's nice. She always understands what we're trying to say. She always makes it fun.
I think she really deserves it. She's such a good teacher, and I'm really lucky to have her.
How many did you have, Miss Isabella?
Mrs. Moreno has been at Huebner Elementary for 16 years and a 4th grade teacher for 10 years.
You're getting all your answers right. This is my favorite grade. Yeah, yes, I love Texas history. My whole family is from 4th generation, and my father's a big Texas history man. He gives us a lot of stuff. We have a gunpowder holder from the war.
And while Mrs. Moreno has made it her mission to make learning fun for her students in the classroom, she's also building a foundation for them to keep up the learning in the future.
I want my students to see that they've got so much more learning to do. I want them to go anywhere and everywhere in the world.
Mrs. Moreno. So if you want to nominate a teacher for Educator of the Month, just head over to our website at ksat.com/educator. And again, it was super fun to go over there to Huebner Elementary, and we interviewed that. You saw the little boy, Brody, the 4th grader. It was interesting because all the kids decided to have her as their teacher, but he had a little heads up because his older sister had her before him, and so when he found out that Mrs. Moreno was his teacher, he was super excited about that.
I bet. It's tough to keep that kind of secret sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
Congratulations, Mrs. Moreno. Right now, it is 9:27, 73 degrees.
A lot more ahead on GMSA at 9, including highlights from the Cowboys' big win over the Giants last night on Monday Night Football. David Sears will be back with RJ Marcus with a recap of the game.
Plus, a look at a story on KSAT.com getting a lot of attention from our viewers. We'll tell you a little bit about it when we come back.
It's a story that's getting a lot of attention online right now. Our latest KSAT Investigates piece, Dylan Collier examined the case of a local teenager shot through the back of the head after tossing a banana at a gas station clerk. The teen somehow survived and is now suing for more than $1 million in damages. You can watch the full story right now on KSAT.com.
Now to Hurricane Ian gaining strength and moving north after battering Cuba. One of the latest tracks shows Tampa taking a direct hit.
ABC's Ginger Z is in Florida with the details.
This morning, Hurricane Ian made landfall as a Category 3 in western Cuba, lashing that island with winds of 125 miles per hour. All that after roaring west of Grand Cayman. Hurricane hunters flying into the eye to gather data as it rapidly intensified. And this is just the beginning. Ian is still strengthening as it heads north toward Florida. Storm drains in Miami already overwhelmed by tropical moisture days ahead of the storm. Water spewing from the middle of the street. Florida under a state of emergency with hundreds of thousands of mandatory evacuations already underway. Tampa Bay preparing for a worst-case scenario. If they take a landfalling major hurricane, it will be the strongest storm for Tampa in a century. In Hillsborough County, lines to fill sandbags were long, some folks waiting an hour.
It's very scary, lots of unknowns.
We don't have gutters in our house. I'm very concerned about the flooding and the rain.
A similar scene in Pinellas County. People boarding up windows as the hurricane looms.
So many of the beaches west of Tampa have erosion issues just from regular thunderstorms or sunny day floods. But now with this huge monster of Ian coming at them, erosion will be a problem.
FEMA loading 360 trailers with more than 2 million meals as 5,000 guardsmen from the state are being activated. Several schools and universities canceling class.
Just be prepared to lose power. I think that that's something that people should expect. And depending on the severity of the storm, those power outages can be lengthy.
Long lines ballooning at supermarkets, shelves cleared of the essentials.
Just topping off some gas for generators. Hopefully don't have to use them. Just getting prepared.
Throughout Florida, gas station lines also swelling as people either gear up to stay or to get out.
They say mandatory evacuation. It's time to go.
Ginger Z, ABC News, Tampa Bay, Florida.
And here at home, taking a look outside with live cam, we are very happy to see 74 degrees right now. It started off cool.
Yeah, I know. While one part of the nation deals with potential impacts from Hurricane Ian, we're going to have very quiet weather around San Antonio. Some may even say pleasantly quiet weather because in the mornings it's going to feel absolutely beautiful outside, a lot like it did this morning. Even cooler by a couple of degrees in the coming days. Outside right now, we are quickly warming up, though. It is 70 degrees, dew points in the 40s. That is really pleasant. We've got winds from the northwest at 6 miles per hour, continuing to keep the air dry. Now, unfortunately, the aquifer is down almost a whole foot just within the last 24 hours. We could really use some rain, but with this dry air in place, it's just not in the cards. And when it comes to the pollen count, molds are still high out there, and we've actually seen ragweed tick up. Ragweed is moderate. We've had that south northerly wind kicking up the ragweed pollen. Grass and pigweed, though, are present in low amounts. So here's what we're going to talk about in the forecast. This week, cool mornings, warm afternoons. I'm going to show you just how cool it'll be in San Antonio in the mornings. Really pleasant for all those early morning risers. We are in the middle of a dry spell, though. We're going to talk about how it's been a record dry year so far. And we will have an update on Hurricane Ian, show you where it's at and where it's headed, coming up in just a bit.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
Thank you, Sarah. And the Cowboys get a big win over the Giants on Monday Night Football.
This game went down to the wire. David is back, joined by RJ Marquez with more. And is there a potential quarterback controversy on the horizon for the Dallas Cowboys? I feel kind of silly saying that.
Hey, but Jerry Jones brought that up earlier in the week, and he may actually have a controversy on his hands after the way Cooper Rush played yesterday.
Yeah, big win here for the Cowboys, and we were talking about this before we came on. Just the fact that Cooper Rush seems in control of the offense. He seems to be making some good decisions and not forcing anything. And that's something that maybe we've seen from Dak in the past, just trying to do a little bit too much.
One of the knocks on Cooper Rush is he's not a great scrambler. And so defenses figure they can get to him. He did not get sacked one time last night. He did not throw one interception last night. He played what you might consider a flawless game. He was 21 of 31 for 250 yards. He had like a quarterback rating of 98, which isn't the best, but he didn't make any mistakes. And that's what gets you. And he led the Cowboys on those 2 second half touchdown drives and a field goal drive. So
and of course, and that was big. And he would have had a bigger day had CeeDee Lamb not had butterfingers.
Hey, the CeeDee Lamb
in the first half.
All right, so we're going to roll some highlights for you. We'll get to the CeeDee Lamb in just a second. So the first half is okay. Second half, we finally got some good stuff going. The second is like 6-6 at the end of the first half. Saquon Barkley, missed a tackle right there. Boy, another tackle. This guy's one of the best running backs in the NFL when he is not hurt and he is on. And that was like a 30-something plus touchdown run. So now the Giants are up 13-6, and here comes Zeke Elliott. Move out of my way. Just busting right through. Show a little strength from Zeke. Although Pollard had more yards last night, but Zeke got that touchdown. That was great. And then
that was a big play right there. That was a 4th and 4. Cowboys driving. CeeDee Lamb did make a nice catch there. Yes, he did.
Oh, right there. And then CeeDee Lamb said, I don't need 2 hands. I just need 1. I get one-handed grabs like that. Look at that.
He made up for that drop earlier in the day.
Yeah, he missed one with 2 hands, so he doesn't need 2. And then
speaking of good hands,
Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah.
He hadn't had an interception all year. He had 11 last year. That was his first one for the year. He just kind of sits down and lets the clock run out. And the Cowboys pull off a huge, this is huge because it's a road win and you got your backup quarterback, and they came from behind, down 13-6, scored 17 straight. And look at poor Daniel Jones. He's like, what just happened?
Yeah, and you mentioned, David, big division road win as well. The Giants coming into this game were 2-0, so the Cowboys get a game on them. So it's basically a game and a half here that they got. Defense was great all night. Daniel Jones running for his life. The defense has been stellar throughout these first 3 games.
5 sacks last night. They lead the NFL in sacks. But after the game, we got to hear from Cooper Rush about the big comeback win.
He's CeeDee Lamb. The guy's open a lot, makes big-time catches. That fade catch was unbelievable. Kellen had some great play-action calls today. We got some shots down the field, and guys made plays.
One day we're going to have to get a football, and we're going to have to pass it around and see if you can catch it. You know how hard it is to catch a ball one-handed? I mean, it has to be just hit your hand just right. You get the point of the ball. I mean, you know.
I think,
it's not easy to do. You have to have some big hands.
We can do some,
and try that
throw the football around a little bit.
It's hard with 2 hands. What are you talking about?
What?
It's hard with 2 hands. What are you talking about?
Exactly. It's an amazing catch. So.
David, you brought up you brought up a good point though. Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I'm kind of playing around about the quarterback country. I think Dak is good to go when he comes back, and Dak seems like he's on track to get back a little bit earlier. But Tony Pollard has looked really good past 2 games. Went over 100 yards
yesterday.
You feel like this is a 50-50 split?
Had more carries than Zeke. No, you know what? I think it's the way they want to do it, and I think it's a smart way to do when you got a 17-week season. Why wear your guys out? Because if you have some guy that's still got some legs under him and is still kind of fresh towards the end of the season, or if one of your guys gets hurt, have to miss a couple of games, then you've got another guy who's been playing a lot of plays. Number of plays.
Yeah, it's the wear and tear throughout the season for sure. Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry. Dak did have a stitch. Apparently had like a really long stitch.
I guess so. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, just take it out yesterday. And if you weren't watching the pregame show, he was actually trying to grip a ball and throw it.
Yeah.
So he says he could be back. Maybe not. He was like talking 2 weeks, and the reporter asked, "You're like this week and back next week?" Or he said, anything's possible. So
I still think Cooper Rush gets to start this week. They're back home against the Commanders.
Yeah, they just played the Commanders. So you might as well let him
so
have
back home, that's I would imagine the Cowboys would be favored here.
Hurts.
Sorry, Mark. But Dak being on track. If Cooper goes 3-0, this is going to be a very interesting debate.
The Commanders are in command of nothing. Nothing this year. Yeah.
So see, but this, you know what? I got to point. This was a great weekend. Tech beat Texas.
Oh boy.
The Giants lost.
It's amazing. It's Tuesday. We hadn't heard about that yet at all.
I didn't know.
That's a shock.
So you forgot that Tech beat Texas over the weekend on Saturday?
No.
Yeah, in that overtime game, that's a great game. And then the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. You can't get better than this on Monday Night Football than the Cowboys and the Giants, and the Cowboys winning they play in New Jersey. They don't play in New York. In New Jersey.
Right?
You can't get better than that other than Texas.
RJ, had you heard about Tech beating UT?
Not at all.
So there you go.
Did you see that game, RJ?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
see?
Yeah.
Expect more people.
Bijan Robinson's still carrying the football around campus, from what I hear after that overtime fumble.
David will probably
Good win
remind
for the
me
Red
in
Raiders.
August of next year.
He's going to just remind you.
Well, I was always reminded of the 70-35 game from last year, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to remind everybody about this year's win in Lubbock. So there you go.
It's a good stuff there. Good win for the Cowboys.
Yeah, good weekend.
RJ, we'll talk Texas State at some point.
Yes, at some point.
Time to go. Right now, 9:41, 74 degrees. You're watching GMSA at 9.
And after the break, a more in-depth look at NASA's successful DART mission and what scientists are saying about this test.
The charro and the charreria has its roots dating back to the 16th century and played a very important role on the Mexican haciendas and is the forerunner to what we know today as the American rodeo. During the Mexican Revolution, the large haciendas were divided up, and fearing the loss of the charro traditions, the Federación Nacional de Charros was formed in 1933. The oldest association in the United States is right here in San Antonio, where continued traditions and skills of the charros are on full display at a charreada. Not only do men take part in the events, the ladies in the escaramuza teams impress the crowds with their carefully crafted choreography, which has been described as ballet on horseback.
The San Antonio Charros Association's goal is to preserve the history, art, and culture of horsemanship from Mexico for future generations.
The U.S. Senate is preparing to vote on a government funding plan that's currently on thin ice due to a deal made by Senator Joe Manchin.
Tonight's vote will determine if lawmakers will start talks on a measure that will extend funding, which is scheduled to expire Friday at midnight. However, the proposal includes a reform proposal from Manchin that will speed up the process for energy projects, including a pipeline that will go through Manchin's home state of West Virginia.
Republicans say they may vote against the proposal because they want to punish Manchin for backing the Inflation Reduction Act, but lawmakers are likely to vote in favor of a short-term funding extension by the end of the week. On to NASA now, a big mission success. We're talking about NASA's DART mission, where the team intentionally crashed an uncrewed spacecraft into an asteroid to see if they could prevent future threats from hitting our planet.
CNN's Jen Sullivan recaps the launch for us and explains what scientists are saying about this test.
Protecting Earth from potentially deadly objects in space. It sounds like the perfect plot for a Hollywood film, and it was in 1998.
It's what we call a global killer. Nothing would survive, not even bacteria.
Asteroids, especially large ones, are very real threats and something NASA is tracking.
At some point in the future, there's going to be something that's going to hit Earth. We don't want the Armageddon movie scenario.
10 months ago, NASA launched an uncrewed spacecraft. And Monday night, they purposely crashed it into an asteroid. The mission was called the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART. The purpose? Hit the asteroid head-on to alter its path and change its speed.
We're taking a giant step in planetary defense.
The DART spacecraft was the size of a refrigerator. The asteroid? As big as the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. The spacecraft was going nearly 15,000 miles an hour when the two collided.
If we can confirm that the thing was deflected by less than 1 degree, we know that this would, in principle, work on a large scale.
This asteroid was about 7 million miles away from Earth. But scientists say this test helps them prepare for future threats that could be much closer.
It happens, every few 100,000 or few million years or so, Earth gets hit by an asteroid. And when it does, it's usually bad for those who are around.
The last time a deadly asteroid hit Earth? Around 66 million years ago.
That wiped out the dinosaurs.
Monday's test hopes to prevent that from ever happening again. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Great follow-up to our live interview from yesterday.
Yeah, it was really cool to see it all work out. Time now 9:48 and 75 degrees. It's still pretty good right now.
Sarah Spivey is smiling.
It's great outside, but of course I gotta put some things in perspective for us. We could really use some rain, and there's really not much in the future for us. Take a look at this. In San Antonio this year, we have seen 8 20/100 inches of rainfall this year. That's it. By this time this year, we should have more than 2 feet of rain. We're in a 16-inch rain deficit in San Antonio. And to top it all off, this is the driest year to date on record. Records go back to 1886. You can see a couple of notable years here, especially in the 50s. In 2011, we still had more than an inch of rain back in 2011 at the airport. Now, the airport has missed out on a lot of rain. We have seen rainfall pretty healthy across parts of the hill country. But unfortunately, we just do not have any rain chances in our future. With this drier air settling in place, it feels great outside, but it does come at the cost of not seeing much rain in our forecast. Now, lows this morning, it was so pleasant out there. I hope you were able to enjoy it. It was 58 degrees in Uvalde, 57 in Rock Springs, 58 in Gonzales, 64 in Pleasanton, and 61 here in San Antonio. That's actually the coolest we've been since the end of May. We even got down into the 40s in parts of the hill country. It was 49 degrees in Kerrville. And tomorrow morning, we're expecting temperatures to be a couple of degrees cooler than what they were this morning. So you have plenty of opportunities to soak up that fall chill in the air early in the mornings. Now, it is really dry outside. We've got dew points in the 40s. That is on the dry end of our scale. And in fact, with dry drier air in place all week long. We're going to continue with this trend of cool mornings and warm afternoons. Dew points will be in the 30s and 40s all week long and into the weekend. So when we look at morning lows, again, pretty pleasant. We'll be in the upper 50s through about Saturday and starting to see temperatures warm up a little bit over the weekend and into next week, but still nice mornings on deck for us. Currently, though, it's 70 degrees. We've already seen temperatures rise by some 10 to 15 degrees out there this morning. It's 74 in Uvalde, 76 in Pleasanton, 74 in New Braunfels. And as we look ahead to the afternoon, it is still going to be warm. This afternoon, we'll be looking at a high temperature near 90 degrees around San Antonio, a little warmer than average. And we'll be looking at the upper 80s out toward Del Rio and up in the hill country. All right, let's take a look at our weather setup. Very quiet across much of the United States, with the exception of the Great Lakes, some showers and storms there. And of course, Hurricane Ian is going to be moving into Florida here shortly. Drier air pulling in from the north. That's why we're going to have quiet weather here in San Antonio. But here's a look at Hurricane Ian. You can see the eye of Ian is starting to emerge into the Gulf of Mexico after battering Cuba overnight. Current winds of 125 miles per hour, gusts up to 130 right around that eye wall. And Ian is expected to strengthen even further into a Category 4 hurricane throughout the day today into tomorrow, potentially making landfall as a Category 3 hurricane near the Tampa area early Thursday morning and impacting much of the state of Florida, especially that Tampa area. Rainfall, 10 to 15 inches of rain across Florida. But here in San Antonio, we're going to be dry. Temperatures already in the 80s by noon, 91 for the high. East-northeast winds gusting up to 20 miles per hour. After the sun sets tonight at 7:24, it's going to be a cool evening. Chilly in the morning for some, 59 degrees. Hoodie weather, light sweater weather in the morning, and very comfortable in the afternoons. We'll be back right after this.
And a big thank you to everyone who donated yesterday during our phone bank with the Red Cross to provide relief for people in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Fiona hit the area.
At last check, you raised over $10,000, but the actual amount could be higher than that. Of course, yes. Round of applause. Red Cross grateful to everyone who donated, and so are we.
Early risers will be rewarded with comfortable and cool fall-like temperatures in the 50s over the coming days. Of course, this is San Antonio in fall, so it's still going to be warm in the afternoons, near 90 degrees. Pretty quiet. Hey, guess what? Tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to be doing Science with Sarah at the STEM Academy at Nimitz Middle School. We're going to be making mini rockets out of tea bags. I'm so excited. So you'll have to tune in for that tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm guessing this is an outdoor activity.
We're going to be doing it inside.
Oh, interesting.
Cool.
Okay.
The teacher has done it several times indoors, and as long as they do it one at a time, it's actually pretty good.
There you go.
Well, cool. We'll be tuning in.
Sounds fun. Well, that's one way to do a Wednesday around here.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, sounds good. Science with Sarah tomorrow right here on GMSA at 9.
Awesome. Lucky students there at Nimitz. You guys have a great day.
Oh, and David Sears too.
Oh, yeah, him as well.